Hey! Hey! Zoto nalembi komona bapasi ya boye nalembi koloba nakasi na biso yo matupona nino wanga ninga boye pase simbinga motema mama alingi boye lokutana ya mabe mama masumu double double
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say hello and welcome to a fresh, brand new edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa. Today is, in fact, the 10th of October, 2023, Election Day in Liberia. Well, I just want to take this time to say thanks to the Most High. Father God, want to give you praise. Want to say a big thank you for what you've done for all of us. Want to glorify your name. Want to magnify your name. Thanks for the studio you've given us. Thanks for British Radio Africa. Thanks for our wonderful panelists who have taken up time, all of the time, to be here to speak to the power, to speak to the Liberian people. In the name of Jesus, we have given thanks. Some heard the name. Some heard people talk about him. You've gotten the opportunity tonight to match the name, face, and voice. The mastermind, the doctor of love, the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of radio. C'est tout pas yege. Jabon pleo da anjaku me on chiraji. You want to know Mozo, and one year madobo, bodo black, padiko your bodo say. He doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. Africans, media doobie doo, extraordinaire. I'm ASHFORD GARLEY. Welcome to the show. I see we're enjoying it. You be looking at me. Yeah. Reverend George, my man, Election Day in Liberia. Welcome to the show.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. We fought, we made a case, and the Liberian people are making their case. And so we're waiting to hear what they have decided. It's a pleasure to be a part of the ASHFORD GARLEY show, British Radio Africa. To all of you who are making it happen, we thank God for you, and we encourage you to continue as we speak to the issues, as we go beyond even the elections and see where Liberia goes from here. I'm happy to be a part of the process. Thank you very much to my fellow panelists.
Thank you.
We'll continue to articulate the issues and let the people speak. Tonight they are speaking.
Thank you. My very loyal, dynamic, and powerful co-host, Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Mr. Garley. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to Liberia. We want to say a very big thank you for your resilience, for coming out, to come in. You know, I spoke to somebody in Liberia and they said, I didn't ask them who they voted for. They said, we exercise our right. I say, hey, Liberia, you exercise your right. You came out in droves, and we want to say thank you. Welcome to another exciting edition of British Radio Africa with your host, ASHFORD, the Giant Garley. Welcome.
Thank you. We'll now go to Dr. James T. Fisk, a veteran Liberian journalist and a medical practitioner. Dr. Fisk, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashford, and greetings to the other panelists. I would join Reverend George in saying that the episode has come to an end, and we can now see, in fact, that at least two persons have been elected for the runoff. We just don't know who they are for now, but I don't think that anyone
The
will
fish sounding too low.
Dr. Fisk, you sound a little muffled. I don't know what is wrong with the device. Okay, he would get back on. Let me bring in the Reverend Idatu Zadit, my childhood friend and brother. We sometimes disagree politically, but I love this guy. Welcome to the show, Idatus.
Thank you, Ashwa. I love you too. And greetings to all of you wonderful panelists. I love all of you as well. And more especially, I love Liberian listeners, our audience. It is our pleasure to be here. Campaign is over, and we are poised for one of the historic decisions in our nation's history in deciding who our leader will be. That will embrace the mantle of leadership for a wholesome functioning society, economically, politically, and socially, in the words of William R. Talbot. Thank you.
Campaign is over, and of course, voting is also over. And I want to applaud the Liberian people who went out and exercised their right to vote today. Whoever becomes the next president of Liberia, we should all embrace he or she, because I'm told there's some females involved in these elections. That Reverend George said they got some silent voters, so somebody can pull a number somewhere somehow. But just before I complete my statement, let me welcome Dr. Fisk as he introduces himself. Dr. Fisk, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I hope I sound better now.
Wait,
I
much more better.
apologize for the. Yeah, I sound better. I apologize.
You're going again. As we wait for him to come back, we'd like to say hi to my younger brother, Emmanuel Garley. He's watching from Grand Judah County. Emmanuel, how you doing? Joe Manjala is also watching. Tonya Brooks, Alfred Gobert Bala is watching from Indonesia. Welcome to the show tonight. Face, take it away. Dr. Fisk, can you hear us? Take it away. Okay, I also like to say hi to Kind. Adolphus is in the building as well. Well, lady, gentlemen, uh, as always, let me give the microphone to Idatus as he opens up with the menu for the show tonight. Mr. Addy.
Well, certainly I want to applaud Liberians for coming out peaceful and expressing their votes and just being able to manage the situation in a peaceful manner. However, the election commissions had meeting a press conference today wherein they highlighted some of the challenges in the late opening of polling stations. For example, in Sino, some of the ballots got wet. They had to wait for it to dry. And, the late attendance of supervisors, commissioners to manage the votes. But those things were addressed and resolved. There were some polling stations in the southeast because of bad roads that did not open on time. So we can expect that they will still be counting the votes as late as possible. As it stands now, there are precincts in Monrovia, Cape Mount, Nimba County, Montserrat County, and River G that have started being reported through different outlets. And Liberians are poised, as these preliminary results come out. We are hoping that ultimately, hopefully by tomorrow, Wednesday latest, we'll know who our next president will be. Thank you.
And Reverend George, when you see people showed up in numbers such as they did today, it makes it very difficult to change the votes or change the results. So we are hoping that the best person wins. The person the Liberian people won wins this election. So this is all we're hoping for. But again, we just have Dr. Fisk. Dr. Fisk, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Like I said,
you sound much better. Go ahead.
yeah, I said I had to pull on the side of the road to have this conversation. So I was just welcoming everyone and speculating that if at least two persons have been selected by Liberian people to go to a runoff, I can bet my lousy paycheck on it. No one won 50 plus one. And I just want to welcome everyone to another explosive edition of ASHFORD GARLEY Live on Breach Radio. Thank you.
Reverend George, what are you hearing so far in terms of these numbers? And we've got to be very careful. There are some media institutions out there who are solely dwell on propaganda for the candidate that they support. So we have got to be very careful. I mean, the final word will come from the National Elections Commission. At the same time, it is okay to come out with uh, presumptive winners or preliminary or results of these elections. What are you hearing in terms of numbers, Reverend George?
Again, thank you for having me, and thanks to the Liberian people first, because I know I think yesterday we prayed in on our little line that you know about, and really sincerely asked that regardless of what happened, that this election be peaceful and free and fair. And I think so far that's what we're hearing, that it was an atmosphere of peace and stability. And so we say bravo to the Liberian people. The second thing that I care most about is now is the time for us to put Mama Liberia first, meaning whoever emerges as the winner, we should all be willing to, regardless of the skimmages, because we know there's no 100% system in the world. Okay, so we should be willing to accept the results. For the two most candidates, I'll go to the second round that Dr. Fix rightly said we know is heading there for sure. And also, I believe now is the time, once we get there, to talk about opposition unity. So my thing is, regardless of the numbers that have been thrown here and there, once the final whistle is blown, meaning once we hear from the election commission, then it's time to put Mama Liberia first. We thank the Liberian people for exercising their right, and we are waiting patiently to get the results, and we can move forward, hopefully, to the second round where opposition unity will now be a thing of possibility to discuss.
Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts, what have you heard? What are you hearing now in terms of these numbers?
Well, Mr. Garley, like you stated, I'm hearing numbers, but I'm not convinced yet because, as Pastor Ade said, there's still polls that are still that closed later than others due to the delay or the number of people that were in line at 6 p.m. So we're still getting preliminary numbers, but I am doing myself a favor and not getting excited because I want to be excited when it's time to be excited. Why I'm excited that our people came out today. They came out and they knew why they came out. They came out for a cause. They knew without them, there would be no good results. So they came out, they waited patiently. There were few, ups and downs that I saw. I saw another case where a lady was going around pretending to help people and snapping their cards, which she was brought to the attention of the law. And that's the great part about that. People obeyed the law. There was one other location where there was some scary behavior where I heard the lady said it was only one way in and the same way out. So people were pushing, shoving. At one point, I didn't know what was happening, so she gave that interview. I'm like, why are these people standing up and then people coming out and pushing them out of the way? But why would you put people in such predicament again? It is the authority that should be blamed for these kinds of stuff because nowhere anyone should go where
Thank you,
there's
Mrs. Roberts.
not a way in and out. It should be two ways. Thank you so much.
Reverend, this is one election where I'm so relaxed because I don't trust any of the candidates in the race, simply because elections after elections, people walked away with the impunity. When they do things, they will come with the intention of changing the country. By the time they get that, the narrative becomes the same. You know, people thought George Weah was coming for good, and he has failed miserably. You know, who replaces George Weah? Or would the Liberian people say we want to re-elect George Weah? What would Boycott do differently? I mean, we have not seen Cummings go to work yet in terms of his leadership, but the fact that Cummings has surrounded himself with corrupt government officials, all of these people are the same. They don't mean well for the country. So nothing will change. And that's why I went to bed sound last night like a baby. I'm going to go to bed again tonight. Whoever wins, well, so be it. Nothing's going to change from the ASHFORD GARLEY. As a matter of fact, you can see it now. You can tell from the texture of my voice, we have revamped the studio and we're sounding better, looking better, and God has been good to us. Idatus
Very
added,
better.
yeah, Idatus added, you said last night that the people in Grand Crew needed rescue. They didn't need George Weah. We are hoping that the numbers from Grand Crew tonight will rather reflect what you said last night. Take it away.
Well, certainly it is my hope, Ashford, that those people who chanted, we want rescue, will reflect and express the true desire for genuine rescue in the person of Joseph Yuma Boyka. But let's be very clear, democracy is an experiment. We vote in anticipation, futuristically, that individuals who come to power will fulfill that which they've promised us. But here is the difference in that of Mr. Joseph Imamboyka, if I may borrow from the words of Mr. Alexander Cummings. He said, past performance is the best indicator for future performance. So when you look at Mr. Joseph, the ambassador's record in all of his dealings in government, it remains remarkable, it's unique, it's untested, incomparable to any other candidate that have been running in a race. So it's clear that when you look at from the different stations, all of the preliminary results that are coming up, this race has been narrowed down to two persons, George Weah and Joseph Imamboyka. So we are hoping, quite frankly, that Liberian people will ultimately make a choice that will either retain this incumbent or replace him in the person of Joseph Yuma Boyka. And we are hopeful at this point in time. Regarding whether or not they will do better because they are the same people, that is a projection that you're making and you reserve that right to. I'm hopeful as a young man and a Liberian, hoping to see better for our country, that our nation will change based on the competence, experience, and vision of the Honorable Joseph Boyka, should he be the Liberian people's decision. Thank you.
Well, let us go to Dr. James T. Fisk.
Yeah, I mean, and there are two conversations we should be having at this time. That is, who are those two individuals that will be elected for the runoff? Because I don't think anyone is going to win 50+1. And then another thing that needs to start happening is a coalition government conversation needs to start happening. Those who surround themselves with these various political actors should be able to look in the numbers and start to send emissaries, to kind of build the bridges, because once and when that second round is announced, then it becomes even more critical that people have a clear eye view, because you don't want another government that's going to spend all of its time looking in the past for excuses for not doing what it is supposed to do after getting elected. That is exactly what the CDC represented on the George Weah. You don't want a repeat of that. So while the votes are being counted, I make a very strong. I can make a very strong guess that it's going to be second round. So if there's going to be second round, we may as well begin to have the conversation of what a future coalition government of Liberia is going to look like, because everyone, especially those within the opposition, should be striving to do something better than what Liberian people saw in the last 6 years. Thank you.
Well, Reverend George, there are folks out there who think there will be no second round. They believe either Boykai or George Weah will win this in the first round. But the guy that you represent, his name is not even mentioned. Somebody saying he should just consider himself, done. I mean, the presidency is not his thing. I'm pretty sure you disagree with them, Reverend George.
Well, not only did I disagree, but I hope the opinion that even if your team is being led 3-0, you don't just pack your jersey, take out your clothes, and then give it away. You keep fighting, okay, until the final whistle is blown. I really, really believe with Dr. Fix that it's going to be a second round, even though folks are so overly optimistic that it's going to be a knockout. It's not going to be a knockout. I think we have done in a good job to litigate the issues, the ideas about past performance, future performance, all of that. We've talked about all of that. If we went by that, actually, you will ask the question, today, if you're looking for a job, you will need recommendation from your previous job, okay? And you will need your previous employer to recommend you. If Joseph Burger had done a good job, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was going to be the best person to recommend him. She never recommended him in 2017, and I'm not sure she's recommending him in 2023. But that being said, so let's leave that whole past performance, future performance thing. I believe where we are now is whatever comes out of that, especially if it ends to a second round, how can we coalesce, especially the traditional opposition, in order to truly redeem Liberia from this calamity that we have? But if we keep speaking like this in a denigrating way, I think we are even doing a disservice to Liberia because it becomes difficult to coalesce as opposition, and we might as well just squander the opportunity and settle for another 6 more years for the ruling party. That's not what we want. So I believe Dr. Fix is spot on. We should be talking about what
Thank you.
happens in the second round.
Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, do we see the government of inclusion in the second term of President Weir's administration? Will he reach out to the opposition and say, you know what, the first 6 years, you people said this and said that, but I think it is now time that we come together and build our country. And we ask for those who are sophisticated enough to join him in his second term? Or do we see President Boycott maintaining what he said that each there will be each minister from each county if or when he becomes the next president of Liberia? Or we will also see factories being built with Alexander coming become the Elon Musk of Liberia, where he can build factory in every county and improve our country in terms of development?
Well, all we can do is hope based on who wins the presidency. We can hope that if the Liberian people choose to give it back to go back to the last 6 years, let's hope that this administration have learned some things that it would do differently. But I am not that optimistic. However, I am hopeful that when Mr. Cummings becomes the president, he will do what he said he would do by making sure Liberians are employed by any means necessary, by creating a private sector that will help them get off their feet and not be in the kind of, I can't even think of a negative word, deplorable conditions that they live in. No one should live in these conditions. And of course, Mr. Boykai said what he said, and we will hope to hold him accountable to those words. But I'm more optimistic about the person that I favor more because I know that he can deliver what he promised.
Reverend added, President Weah's second term, he would now begin to think about, like I said, and what can he do in the second term to reunite the country and include people from various political parties in terms of improving the country. If you think that he failed in the first 6 years, what can you do? What are the ideas can you bring to him so that he can use some of those ideas and build our country and take our country in a better direction? In another development, think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia. Uh, Mr. Boyka wants to change the narrative. He wants to include every county if or when he becomes the next president of Liberia. I'm pretty sure you're very good at expanding on things. So take it away, please.
So let's be very clear. The Honorable Joseph Yuma Boyga is a uniter, a reconciler, not a divider. And there are several individuals who are sometimes frustrated that he even embraces people who've criticized him. But Liberians can rest assured that when the Honorable Boyka comes to power, we don't want to have a divided country, unlike this president, where we saw a coalition of unity disintegrate just before elections. So Mr. Boyka has put forth a plan. Liberians need economic empowerment through employment, potential factories, credible institutions, vocational institutions, that we will not be spectators in our own economy, but be able to, join hands together and build a society where everyone can prosper. So the Honorable Joseph Boyka is ready on day one to bring a government of unity, a government of coalition that will have every one of us an opportunity to lead Liberia under our very common patrimony. In union strong, success is sure. A united country under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is his vision when he thought, think Liberia, love Liberia, built Liberia.
You were very dismissive. You didn't even mention George Weah. He could be, he could win these elections.
Well, no, I'm not dismissive in any way, shape, or form. The people who worked in the Honorable President Weah's government, they are Liberians. And rest assured, the Honorable Boyka, being the man that he is, if you have skills, you will be used. You will be utilized for the greater good of our country. This is not this ought to not be a partisan government. If you are doing well in your area of expertise and you are needed, rest assured. If you apply for the job and you are capable, you will have an opportunity. Look, when I listened to the Honorable Joseph Boyka, he stated that his goal is to lay down a foundation of good leadership that Liberians can build upon and change the trajectory of our country. That's his goal. It's not a witch hunting experiment. It's not a government of isolation, but to include every Liberian. Campaign is over. We've said what we had to say. We're looking to have Mr. Cummings work with us. We're looking to have Mr. Gonglo work with us. We're looking to have every well-meaning Liberian who has Liberia at heart make a difference. We want a country that is united and not divided.
Dr. Fisk, have the Liberian people prepared the retirement package for Joseph Yuma Boyka? Some are saying no fresh ideas and he has to go. Or will Alexander Cummings take you up on the challenge? He listened when you introduced the rare car. Will he listen to you in opening up factories in every sector of our country to provide jobs in the private sector for our people? Or will George Weah embrace every Liberian in terms of his second term to leave a legacy? Dr. Fisk.
Okay, let's say it this way. Vis-a-vis Alexander Cummings, George Weah, if elected president, or Joseph Boyka, if elected president, both have one thing in common vis-a-vis Alexander Cummings. Both of them may not be cannot have another presidency beyond 6 years, and Joseph Boakai may not be able to continue another presidency beyond 6 years. That is what both of them have in common. So that is a ripe opportunity all the way around for Cummings. So the best thing Cummings can do is to be able to emphasize his brand. And what is Cummings' brand? Cummings is known as a financial stroke economic giant. George Weah brand is soccer, so you go all over the place to see soccer field. Cummings' brand is not education, even though it's important that, you know, the nation has a bunch of educated people. So it's laudable that he will build schools and, you know, have other investments. But his brand, as far as Liberians are concerned, why don't you just build that brand so that by the time the next election is coming, you don't even have to campaign? Because, you know, Jeff Bezos, okay, or the family, the Walton family that created Walmart all across America and got so many jobs. If you replicated that idea in Africa, the, you know, Western countries, people don't cling to you because of what you do, but Africans have that ability to be that grateful. So if Alexander Cummings, who by far has the capacity to do that, created agro-industrial jobs all across Liberia and made Liberia self-sufficient, the man could establish something called Imperium in Imperie. In other words, even though you have the central government that's running the country, but this guy is actually another government, a shadow government, because why? He's providing the real opportunities for Liberians. If he does that, by the time 6 years rolls around, he won't even have to campaign. I mean, I'm not saying this to say that it is not possible that Cummings can be the person who's in the run-up with George Weah. I'm just saying, if he's not, then he has the best chance in the next 6 years to become president if he plays his cards right and not just put people behind him who listening to him rather than giving him ideas. It's possible that George Weah can get the red card, but for George Weah to get the red card, it's going to happen in the second half. It's not going to happen in the first half. So there need to be, like the Reverend George said, a coalition. People need to start having this discussion. You see, people are too flat-footed politically. They need to start having that discussion and see how Cummings, if that is Cummings not going, or Boakai, if that is Boakai not going, start to build that coalition, because George Weah need a second half record. Otherwise, he doesn't have any idea to move Liberia forward 6 more years from now. I don't see it. So he needs to get out of the field so that the country can prosper.
Reverend George.
Yeah, you know, the nature of these discussions is like you're trying to get away, you know, but then you are being drawn into it, you know, so it's almost like we got to keep talking about it. But as far as branding, because, you know, I have a marketing background, branding is a unique thing, but as a manager, branding is built not from one perspective, like my brother keeps saying. I know he has a passion for agriculture, but look, the type of branding Cummings seeks to build is the talk and do person. So beginning with education is part of the branding, because we know the educational sector in Liberia is a dismal failure. I mean, the last thing you saw, I mean, whether it was a joke, but a high school student that could not pronounce, you know, graduating class, you know. So I believe why I get Dr. Fick's idea about branding, I don't think it is far-fetched to begin even with education, because the brand you want is to do as you say, you know, whether it's economically, whether it's educational, whether it's socially, that you are a person who can deliver. You see, what I brand people want in their leader is one who does what he says. So I get that. And let me come back to this whole concept of who wins the election. Look, regardless of whichever way it falls, we will know hopefully by tomorrow or maybe day after. I am appealing that we should be ready. Look, this is part of the maturity. I don't want a scenario where somebody says, if I don't win, then they cheat me. No, I have pushed against that very strongly. If you don't win, be willing to coalesce. If two people goes to the second round, as we know, whether it's Buaka and Weah or Buaka and Cummins or Weah and Cummins, then we should be prepared to put Liberia before us full front. What decision do we want? How do we appeal to the voters to say, okay, here's a unique opportunity you have for second round, and this is XYZ you should look at as you finalize this decision. It's still going to be the voters' decision. And I think we should start talking about it now rather than the high horse I'm trying to articulate accomplishment and all of that, who is divisive, who is not divisive. I'm not here to let it get, but Joseph Boaga is far from being a uniter from the Unity Party aspiring Ellen Johnson as her leader to the CPP to even the miniature CPP he had with Uriel Costa and all of those people.
Thank you.
He's far from being a uniter. But again, we will not eat crow with Shane, and we have to swallow a bitter pills when we come to that.
Well, Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts, despite a few glitches going into these elections, for the most part, there has not been any substantial irregularities in terms of these elections. Don't you think so?
I do. I have not seen any irregularities, though we did hear about few. Like I said, issues. We did see some extra cards that were found. We did see some places that the they have one person, two persons, rather than more than that for a 3,000 population area. Those, I mean, they may not be the normal irregularities. However, they are, there were ways of stiffening or stifling the voter resilience, but they kept their cool. They complained, and so that's why we haven't seen too many. There were a few places things I listened to that I heard some, abnormal things. But again, widespread, we haven't seen. But again, what I find ancient in this day and age, I'm sorry to say, is that we're still going 1, 2, 3, 4. I just find it so elementary, and maybe because I haven't watched the process before. But I think besides that, we want to make sure that people are not afraid of the government, but the government, whoever wins, should be afraid of the people by what they saw today. The turnout of the people, the fact that they would bring attention to issues, that's how a government should be. We the people, we have the voice, and I love it.
Well, if the people don't care, they won't show up to vote because election day is just that one time where the voters become the employers. And in this case, people showed out today in their numbers. Whether they're coming or whether they came out for change or they came to say, Joshua, we give you the mandate for the next 6 years. We are not going to know until the next few hours. What are you hearing? I'm told people from your camp are happy with the results. They are in some quarters rejoicing that the numbers are going their way. In other camps, they are saying they have the numbers. It's just too close to call. That's who's at it.
And actually, you're absolutely right, but from preliminary results that are coming from the various stations that have been monitored in the media outlet, it's clear that this race is only between two candidates, the incumbent President George Weah and Joseph Boyka. And thus far, what I've been hearing from those preliminary results, that in some instances, the numbers from some stations, the numbers are significantly leaning to Honorable Joseph Imamboyka. And there are other stations I listen to, for example, Topman High. George Weah was leading in that area. But let's be very clear. We can with certainty state that this is a two-man's race. You know, that is why right now, as we stand, we're encouraging the Honorable Alexander Cummings to begin to rethink his support, joining with Joseph Imamboyka, Tiawong Gonglo, and the rest of those, just from looking at the preliminary results. We're reaching out to them now to make that decision in this public manner to change Liberia for good. In the words of Tiawong Gonglo, he stated that Liberia is in an ICU. In the words of Alexander Cummings, July 25th, 2023, stated in his response to President Weah's State of the Nation address, he said that our democracy is threatened, our peace is shaking. And he characterized that statement by stating our nation is faced with unemployment, lawlessness, and food insecurity, among several things he listed that define why our democracy is shaking. Our democracy is threatened and our peace is shaky. So, born from his words, I believe and I remain confident that they will hopefully join the train. Let's make Liberia a better place. Politics is over when the people speak. Should this go to a second round, it is my hope and a public appeal that all of these candidates will join with the Honorable Joseph Imamboyka, who just want to put a leadership in place that will change Liberia and create an environment where our young people can dream again and fulfill their dreams and aspirations. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Fisk, the Liberian people listened this time and they came out to vote. Did they vote for George Weah or did they vote for Joseph Imamboyka? Because some of the polling stations, the results that are coming in, they're just limited to two people, the Boycott and Where. You know, I'm told Cummings is at a distanced third. What do you know so far?
I mean, the thing is, we can healthily speculate that George Weah is not going to win Nimba County. I said it yesterday, and I still say it. You can't have Prince Johnson and Jeremiah Kuhn, and then George Weah win Nimba. That's unrealistic, because Liberian politics is very tribal. So Nimba is out. Nimba was out when Prince Johnson threw his hat in the race for Joseph Boyka, let alone Jeremiah Kuhn, whether we like it or not. And of course, because tribal is politics, because politics is tribal, George Weah is not going to win Lofa. I mean, those two counties are automatically out. Okay, even you have second, third, fourth round, George Weah cannot win those counties, especially if Joseph Boyka is part of the equation. Okay, what about the Bassa Belt, the third largest? Well, the fourth largest, because Monserrate is the biggest. The fourth largest, that's Grand Bassa, Margibi, and River Cess. Between between the CPP and Unity Party, where you have Darius Dillon and Yombli Kanga, and then you have the daughter of Charles Bronskin, for going heaven's sake. Where does CDC stand in a Bassa Belt? I don't see it. Okay, Monserrate County was a county that the opposition was able to put up a very strong fight when they were united, and they were able to make Darius Dillon senator. So that is not for if any county will represent that portion of Liberia that are issue voters, people who vote because of the hardship, that's Monserrate. That's why you have the people, the so-called intelligentsia. Most of the people there, comparatively to the rest of Liberia, most of the people that went to school, most of the people that are working. That's the working class center of Liberia, Monserrate. And those are the people that are feeling the pain. So if there's any county that's going to give you the vote based on the issues, it's going to be Monserrate. And we all know that George Weah didn't perform well. So the possibility of CDC winning Monserrate is a tall order, especially after he harmonized people pay and all that kind of stuff. So, but long story short, the incumbency is a strong factor. So you still can't rule George Weah out. Okay, he's a charismatic guy. People still think that being a president is the same as being a soccer player. So that's why they're going to vote for him. So what I continue to say is that at the end of the day, this thing is going to go for second round. So those in the opposition need to start sending emissaries.
Thank you.
To start looking at the issue to say, okay, fine. If you want me to work for you, what kind of trade-off are you prepared to get in so that this thing is going to work this time around for the interest of the Liberian people? That's the discussion these people need to be having. Seriously, too.
Reverend George, thank God I get my microphone. My one voice will make Liberia win. Thank God I get my microphone. My one voice will make Liberia win. Now, what we're hearing, Reverend George, we are going to wait until the National Election Commission come up with something. Places where people think that Joseph Boyka will overwhelmingly win. That the likes of Lofa County. We are hearing now that CDC is doing extremely well in Lofa. We're also hearing that CDC is doing well in Nimba. So we shouldn't just dismiss this, that Joshua would not win Nimba, Joshua would not win Lofa. Listen, man, the people have worked in Lofa, whether the stolen money, Thomas father for months, didn't leave Lofa. You saw what happened during the midterm elections. Joseph Boyka didn't win Lofa. The sedition put their weight behind an independent who eventually joined CDC. It took Lofa away. At the end of the day, the Dillwell certificate will go to Alexander B. Cummins. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, I like to speak in terms of saying what you think, what I think. With all due respect, my friend and brother, the Dr. Fix, I always like to caution: don't say this is what somebody can win. Maybe you think they can win it, because at the end of the day, it amounts to the unity that he was talking about throughout our conversation. Is it realistic? And when you hear our brothers in the opposition, it doesn't sound realistic. What you just said is that we need work to begin now, emissarial work, not talk show promises that my brother is doing. Oh, we're asking you to come and join us. Those are empty flatteries. If we're really serious to put Liberia first, we're really serious to unite as opposition, we need emissarial work to start going on right now as we head to the second round. But to sit on any talk show given day and render these flatteries, we're waiting for you to come and join us, it shows a lot of ostentatious flamboyancy that is dividing the opposition more and more. We got to be careful. What do we want? Okay. And for me, I hate to always hear, oh, you're coming join Joseph Boyka. Oh, we say, okay, come and join Alexander Cummings too. What's wrong with that? Until the final whistle goes, I would say, be prepared to come and join Alexander Cummings in the opposition unity. That's the fight. And we are ready for it, But sometimes my brother talk about opposition unity all the time, Dr. Fix. It doesn't seem realistic when we start talking in condescending terms, condescending language. Oh, you got to come and join us. We pray you pack your book pass. The other one in the kindergarten school. Pack your books and come. No, that's not. This is elections, folks. We are waiting for the final whistle, and then we all need to come back to the drawing board and decide where we take Liberia by the type of unity that we will cultivate, not just expect to be waved to us on the silver platter. This is not an entitlement. This is not a coronation. This is a democratic process. We came to it. We are prepared to go to the last whistle.
And Mrs. Lexi Bruce Roberts, Reverend George has a serious problem with Idatu's telling him that The Von Von party should come and join.
Yeah.
You need the party. Why you need the party? Can't go join the Von Von party. You know, what do you say to that?
I agree. It's a two-way street. I think it should be, we should, as opposition, as stated earlier by Reverend Doe, that we should start looking into that conversation, rather than saying I want, or I think CPP should start joining. For those that think that this is over, no, it's not over until the fat lady sings. And so, everyone, we've had this experience right here in the great United States of America. So I don't know how is it that we can just think that, oh, by one propagandist, who is on the brink of trying to be the who's who, because soon he will be off the air. He's doing everything to be relevant. I don't think he's doing the right thing, because he is not the or the powers that need to give that those results. So we as an opposition should be working together to see which of us are going to unseat, or how we can unseat the incumbent, because we are more powerful together, but no one needs to expect the other person to just walk over to them. It's something that we work towards. I meet you in the middle. And that's what both parties should be doing. Like we have said, along all of the campaign time, we've heard Mr. Cummings say he was willing to support opposition, whomever, if he didn't make it there. But we've never heard the opposite from the statesman, Mr. Ambassador Newman, Joseph Newman Boyka. In fact, he said that he has used the word "I will win."
Thank you.
There's no I in team. So he's been, in terms of unification, talking is cheap, but doing is what people hold you to.
Well, Idadus Ada, you seem very calm tonight, unlike previous shows where you went all out in trying to sell your candidate. I believe you did what you had to do. The Liberian people uh, have either listened to you or rejected what you've said about your candidate. And as we listen forward to hearing these results from the National Elections Commission, how optimistic are you that your candidate, the ambassador Joseph Yuman Boyka, will be named the next president of Liberia?
Um, Ashford, I'm cautiously optimistic, exceptionally optimistic, simply because of the preliminary results we're hearing. You'll have to suspend disbelief, to think that this is not a two-man's race. Ultimately, the NEC will give the final results. But let's be very clear. We've seen the crowds to make some predictions. We've seen the commitment of the followings of the Honorable Joseph Boyka and that of George Weah. So make no mistake, even though people try to discount crowd politics is a gauge to determine where you are going in political affairs, especially elections. So make no mistake, when we're asking for unity at this point in time, it's because we are thinking Liberia, we are loving Liberia, and we want to build Liberia. We're not trying to be condescending. We're not trying to dismiss candidates from in the race. The political realities are factual. Look at the preliminary results. They're very clear, and you can see the numbers that are coming in. We look at that and can surmise or deduce the trend in the context of where these elections are headed. So let's make no mistake, we are not denigrating anybody. We are not discounting that everyone wants to win this race at all cost. But the truth remains, at this time, we are focusing on a government of inclusion, a government that puts Liberia first, a government that is more nationalistic instead of divisive. Elections are over. I'm not here to debate whether or not Mr. Boyka is qualified. The Liberian people are making that decision right now as we speak. And the truth remains, whether or not folks want to argue he's not qualified, I don't think that's my place anymore. We've made the case. We can't make it any longer beyond where we are. I'm not relitigating the matter. We are focused more now on building a government. When the people decides that we lead them, not rule them, over what we have now, then folks can judge us not on the basis of looking in the view mirror, but building a society that Liberians can benefit from.
And please stop to the CDC people. Please stop sending me results. CDC is a criminal enterprise, and to the auto station there, you please stop sending me numbers, because your boss will soon be going to prison. I beg you. These are all criminal enterprises. I beg you. That'll wait for the National Election Commission to tell us who's in fact won these elections and things like those. Okay, Dr. Fisk.
Mr. Garley, I'm sorry, just for a quick interjection. May I ask where is Pastor Datus getting these numbers from?
Well, it seems that the other people getting numbers from.
I don't know where they're getting the numbers from.
I mean,
right.
they all have the war room.
I am not going to call any station's name, but I'll say the media. All right, a cross section of all the different stations that are reporting. They're basically reporting with some degree of consistency on three parties, and there are two parties, such as the CDC and the Unity Party, that are in this context predominantly with the numbers. I'll say that much. So when you look at, I'm not just looking at one station. I've been examining all the stations. I've been comparing numbers, and there is a consistency from all of the stations when it comes to the numbers of Mr. Alexander Cummings, the CDC, and the Unity Party. So those three personalities, numbers are being reported on them. And as it is now, even though the final results haven't come out, I'm not dismissing anybody from this race. So far, what I'm hearing is that Mr. Cummings is at a distant third. His numbers have been in the very low 1, 2, 3, 5. Maximum is 14.
May I provide?
Gentlemen,
I want to give numbers.
Hold on, I beg you, hold your numbers. Yeah, that's Dr. Fisk coming. Then you can, when your time comes, you can talk about your numbers.
I just wanted to Dr. Fisk to. Anyways, okay.
Hold your numbers, and it was not fair, Mrs. Roberts, that you had to jump into the time. You could have waited for your time, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Dr. Fisk will come in now, and following Dr. Fisk, we can take to the telephone line, and that number to call is 267-248-5295. Tell us how you feel about these elections, who you think gonna win or has won. Dr. James T. Fisk, if you are there, please take it away.
Yeah, I'll continue to apologize because of the darkness. Like I said, I pull on the side of the road to have these conversations. Whatever speculations we make today and we don't make, the thing is the people have already voted. Okay, so that one is going down in history. We're just trying to find out what the outcome of what has already happened is. That outcome, what is it? That's all. But it's done, so there's nothing to argue about. All that is happening now is that we can say with a high degree of certainty that no one is going to win 50 plus 1. That we can say with a high degree of certainty. We don't know whether it's going to be just George Weah and Cummings, or George Weah and Boaka, or Boaka and Cummings. We don't know that. Okay. To a lesser degree, we can speculate, but not with the same degree of certainty that at the end of the day, that certain counties that CDC would not be able to win. Nima will be one of them. Lofa will be one of them. Grand Bassa will be one of them. And it's very possible Montserrat will be, because in Montserrat, if you have any group of people that will be issue voters, it's going to be Montserrat. And just to wrap up, I want to say something, Mr. Reverend George. The biggest problem facing Liberia, which is why people gravitated towards George Weah, Ellen did not provide the jobs. One of the reasons why people are in the numbers gravitating towards Joseph Boaka is because George Weah never provided the jobs. So all I'm saying is that when it comes to you are into marketing. Yeah, I'm also into marketing, and I have a master's in communication, so I know well about branding. What I'm saying is simply this: at the end of the day, Mr. Cummings is known when it comes to money, economics. That's what he's known for. It's important to invest into education, but he needs to build that brand. And the best way to build that brand in a country that has that kind of high number of unemployment, I'm not saying he should necessarily go into agro industry. All I'm saying is that his capacity to create jobs. If he went into agro industry and control like people's stomach because he had rice factories all across Liberia, he won't even have to go campaigning because he controlled Liberian post stomach. How you think the 1980 coup and April 14 happy? Because the American people had control over Liberian post stomach through Pusawa. So these are the things I'm saying. I mean, we gotta be strategically. We gotta approach these things in a strategic manner. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, it's important for people to know that you can keep your word, but keep your word about what? Creating jobs. That's the biggest problem that these politicians have not been able to resolve. If Cummings did that, he won't even have to run the next 6 years, because if George Weah becomes president, he's out in 6 years. If Boakai becomes president, he's out in 6 years. So Cummings stands a better chance 6 years from now. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Dr. Frisk. When somebody said to you that this CDC people can lie. Don't take it for granted. That's why everything that comes out of the mouth of a sedition that you take it with a grain of salt. Because I was in Liberia in 2020 when Darius Dillon ran to be senator. We saw the numbers coming. We saw the people in the streets. The numbers were all in Dillon's favor, but yet seditions were on the radio trying to present their own numbers. So these people are evil to that extent. Until we can hear the actual results from the commission, just take everything with a grain of salt. And the same goes to what the Unity Party people. They have a radio station that is solely just there to just make their own numbers up, to make the people think that things are in their favor. You see, that's how trouble erupts. When you see grain and call it white, it is just not good for the country, and it's not good for the people of the country. Reverend George.
Yeah, earlier I was just trying to provide a 30-second example of what we're talking about, these numbers that are flying around. Look, an hour ago, Spoon TV reported that behind D12 High School, listen, behind D12 High School, numbers that came from there reflected that Unity Party had 1,500 votes, CDC had 77 votes, and 0 votes. And I'm just saying it. Be careful out there. 1,500 goes to one party, 77 goes to, that's 1 hour ago, go to CDC, and 0 go to CPP. What does that tell you? There's a lot of spin. There's a lot of propaganda spin. So be at ease, everyone. Let's wait for the final whistle. Okay. And to my dear friend, Dr. Sue, we are not, I didn't say what I said to compete, but as far as I'm concerned, marketing is quite different from mass communication on any day. Because when we talk about branding, there are a lot of things that are put
But
into
Reverend Josh,
branding.
in all fairness, he did say marketing and communication. So
he said mass. I heard mass communication.
He did say
No,
marketing and branding.
don't do that.
Mass communication.
No.
Anyway,
The same way he has a degree in mass communication, I have a degree in marketing. I am
That's what
telling
I'm
you,
saying. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you.
Mass communication is completely different. When we talk about marketing, with a lot of things, we talk about packaging, branding, pricing, and everything that goes into marketing before you get the final product. So let's leave that alone. All I'm telling you is that my appeal to the Liberian people today, where we are right now, we don't want to raise the tension any more than it is already is. calm down. Let's wait for the final results. Calm down. The people have voted. I'm pretty sure that they are voting. There are places where they were talking about there may be another day for them to vote. We hope that's not the case. And that's the case. We hope they can give them the opportunity not to disenfranchise those people because they say it started so late. They were trying to see whether the opposition could even appeal to the Supreme Court to give another day for voting to take place. The idea is let every Liberian be able to vote and let every vote count. Okay, this is my position. Once we cross that threshold, then we start to talk about opposition unit, whoever it is. Okay, like my sister has said, Mr. Cummings has been very open to support any opposition in the second round. We never heard that directly from Joseph Boakai. His surrogate insinuated that. We know you do not represent the heart of the man. The man have to come and tell the Liberian people, this is where I stand. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's wait and hear the final result. Then we can decide the course of Liberia.
Thank you. And I'm pretty sure Dr. Fish will want to
Yeah,
respond.
let me take 30 seconds. No, I did say I'm training marketing and communication. I did
Aha.
say that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I can tell you because I've had training in both that there's more when it comes to branding and priming and all of those things is more in communication than even marketing. I can tell you
No,
that. So all
no,
I'm saying, I mean, you can
no, I disagree.
you have no you interrupted me and I interrupted you. You've never studied communication. You studied marketing. So wait until you study communication. Then
But
you come back
communication
and
is not
have
marketing.
no,
Reverend George, please.
you are interrupting me.
But
Then
you and Ashford interrupted me also. Let's be civil now. Let's be civil. Two of you interrupted me. I took it. So take the bullet too. Go ahead.
no, I never interrupted you. Was Ashford I was trying to clarify. I did not interrupt. So let me clarify that. All I'm saying, you have not done communication. I've done communication and marketing. So I'm telling you, when you do communication, then you can have that discussion with me. All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, and I'm just saying it for Cummings' own good, 6 years from now, nobody will be in a better chance to rule Liberia than Cummings. His brand is finance. So try to enhance your brand. Just the same way we are enhance his soccer brand by building soccer stadium. So enhance your brand by building factories, by creating job opportunities for Liberians. And he won't even have to run a campaign. His job effort will run his campaign for him within 6 years. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be an issue.
Okay,
Yeah, but
thank
his
you.
brand is not finance. His experience is finance. He can
Thank you.
build his brand off of
Reverend
his
George,
experience, or he
Reverend
can build
George,
another brand. His brand
please
is
wait
not
your turn.
finance. Experience different from brand.
Reverend George, please wait your turn.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, I think next up is that who's Mrs. Roberts? Who's going next?
I'm going next. So
Okay, please.
first of all,
Idatus, please hold on. Let me take this caller. Okay, please hold on. Let me take this caller.
What?
Hello, caller. Tell us your name,
Yeah, this is Robert Johnson calling from PA.
Mr. Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Yes, Mr. Gotti, good show. But I just want to tell you that you need to retract your statement, calling the other enterprise or criminal enterprise. That is not right because they are credible institution that the Liberian people depend on to get their news. So whether if you don't like them or not, be very professional so that other people will rate you the right way as compared to calling other entity criminal price as they say they are not giving credible news. So that's my statement. Thank you.
Well, when you plead guilty on criminal charges, then you are running a criminal enterprise, my brother. That's how it goes.
No, I disagree.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, Idatus.
so well, Ashwa, first of all, want to acknowledge that we have two very credible Liberians, Reverend George and Dr. Fisk, that we hopefully, should we establish a government by the will of the people, and by the people, the expertise will be needed in Liberia, in mass communication and marketing. We want to build a wholesome functioning society, Liberia, where everyone can benefit from. And that is why when we're asking people to join us, this is beyond politics. We're looking at the greater good of Liberia. And George Weah did not build a football stadium. Football happens to be his expertise, but look at where Liberia is now. under President George Weah in the era of sports. You know, we couldn't even host any major tournament on our football field. And that is why it's very important. We are facing the fierce urgency of the now that this government be replaced. And I'm hoping that this will be the decision of the Liberian people. And hopefully, if it does go to second round, we are hoping that the likes of Alexander Cummings, Tiawan Gonglo, and others will join us. Let's change Liberia for the better. Like I stated earlier, Mr. Cummings stated our democracy is threatened. Our peace is shaky, consistent with the lawlessness, drug infestation, unemployment, among several other things. In the words of Tiawan Gonglo, Liberia is in the ICU. So I'm confident that should there be a second round, these individuals will join us, these honorable men will join us, and let's rescue Liberia together for the greater good of all Liberians. Politics aside, we need to start thinking Liberia, building Liberia, loving Liberia, thinking Liberia, loving Liberia, and building Liberia for the greater good. And let's talk numbers. You know, in the last elections of 2017, George Weah had 38% in the first round. Joseph Boyka had 28%. Now, mind you, the President George Weah did not have a record. He was a celebrity. In the second round, he had a coalition of Alex Tyler, the MDR, Prince Johnson Party, and the NPP. Now, those three coalitions together took him to 61%. Joseph Boyka came to 38%. It doesn't have that coalition anymore. They've gravitated towards Joseph Imam Boyka. MDR now supports him from Nima County. James Bani from NPP supports him. The political assets of Liberty Party in the iconic personality of Yombli Kanga and Darius Dillon, who won Monroeville Valencia, and Yombli Kanga winning Bassa. We are confident that Bassa is going to go into our column, and not to mention Lofa. So when you juxtapose all of these counties together and look at the vote-rich area of Nima that has 269,000 votes, Montserrat County 900,000 that Darius Dillon won, I'm sure when you put all those votes together, not to mention Lofa, I do not see Mr. President's path to victory, especially on the record of failure.
Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts, was that Lexi? Reverend George, I think it's Lexi, right?
Mrs. Brooks Roberts.
Mrs. Roberts, go ahead. Would you please unmute your device?
Thank you. Again, you know, I'm hopeful that I will go to bed tonight knowing that my people have, done the right thing. And, despite what some people used to have said, that, oh, nobody listens to you on the internet, oh, you're internet citizens. They do listen, and we're glad that they are listening, because what we're talking is for their own good. And despite who wins, we hope that you still hold them accountable. Whenever there's an issue, don't let anyone stop you. It is your inalienable right to go and protest issues. Let your government know that you are the people that have the power to keep them in the seats. So don't wait for 6 years. Whomever wins this election, hold them accountable. We want to applaud you for your efforts. We thank you that you took the time out of your schedule. I know some people couldn't stand as long, but most of you waited 2-3 hours to cast your vote. And we are very optimistic that Liberia is going to move forward under a new leadership, because we will make sure they do the right things. Because I personally will be on the bandwagon for holding the U.S. accountable for not just doing sanctions, but doing more withholding, or they go and do the projects themselves, so that our people are in a better state than what they are.
And Liberia is so gullible. We promote criminals, people who steal from us, people who steal other people's money, and bring it to us. We praise those people. In Liberia today, most of the criminals in government, they are made mothers and fathers of the year in our churches. When they have programs, they
Yep.
invite those criminals to be guest speakers. And that's just who we are. And this is sad. It's sad for our country.
Or to be honored,
You know,
yeah.
you have a person who came and stole from the American government, and he's on record and telling you, say, yes, I stole the money. I am guilty. And today, people gravitate towards that person and calls him credible. This is nonsense. You know, this has got to stop. You have the likes of McGill and they're in the country. George, we are there in the country. They say, yes, we steal the money, but at least we're keeping the money in Liberia. We're not taking the money out of the country. And these are people that you call leaders. You see the influx of drugs in our country. But yet people go out to vote today. They will vote for the same criminals. Because we don't.
The fact that they even cast one vote for
Yes.
Ria is a problem.
We have people who should really be leading the country. But we don't like good people. We love criminals. And that's why Liberia will continue to be a country friend and not a country. Dr. Fisk.
I think it's Reverend George's time to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Reverend George, please take it away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really identify with your commentary just now because that's what we have on the scene. You have the likes of Prince Johnson, who is really sanctioned for pay for play. All they've been doing over there is to take money, pay for play, you know, and these people are the leaders. So again, what we're trying to do is to really educate Liberians. Hopefully get it now, or maybe to get it in the next election. Stop rewarding criminals with state power. Liberia is not going to go anywhere. And we're not legislating the issue anymore. Talk about the political asset, Blikanka, all the kind of thing. No. Blikanka was expelled from her party just the way Ellen Johnson said he was expelled from the Unity Party. Ellen Johnson said he has a my Ellen wing in the Unity Party that would never vote for Joseph Boakai. We know the politics of Liberia. So let's leave that litigation. You got Benson Kafini, who almost defeated Blikanka, is now for CPP in Grand Bassa. He is still running on CPP. You have the likes of the most formidable name in Liberty Party called Bronsky on the ticket. You can discount all of that and play the car with Darius Dillon, who is on Maserati, Blikanka, who has been expelled from her party. But what we're having here is, if we keep honing this kind of thing, it will make opposition unity very difficult. It is time now for us to really disarm our political spin, disarm our surrogacy, and start looking at the result that is coming so that we can move quickly to opposition unity if we're serious to truly move Mama Liberia forward. That being said, for us, we are looking forward to the result. I keep saying it, the final result. You have the entire Bassa belt, Grand Bassa, Riverses, and Malgibi. And if you have the name Bronsky on your ticket and you say you're not going to do, that person is not going to do well in that Bassa belt, you are daydreaming. Let's wait for the final results. I keep cautioning. And when we get there, then we can talk about, okay, can we lay aside our differences? Can we lay down our egos for the sake of Mama Liberia and coalesce and see how we get this guy out of office as soon as possible to move Liberia forward. Again, it's important because if we keep talking like this, we're talking about unity government. Unity government will be very difficult. The one thing to promise something is another thing to deliver it. So let's be careful and let's avoid all these schemages of unauthenticated results coming from everywhere, and let's wait for the election commission. Thank you to the Liberian Post so far. At least the general atmosphere was peaceful because that's what we genuinely pray for, and we thank God for that. But let's be careful.
Thank you. And Dr. Fisk, if people think that even if Boakai wins these elections, things gonna change, they are mistaken. What would you get from somebody who was there for 12 years? And people who are behind him were also in that government for 12 years. All they did was enrich themselves, build big mansions. You know, the school fees abroad got paid. The student, the mortgages got paid. You know, and now they are broke. The worst thing that you can do is to give a former rich man power. He will sell the country. He will sell the country. We saw it with George Weah. George Weah squandered his money because of mental instability. He regained his wealth at the expense of Liberia and the poor Liberian people, and this is what we get in return. The boy continues to enrich himself, sleep with people, women, sleep with men and women in exchange for jobs. If you don't praise him, you become his enemy. He holds grudges. And the Liberian people will continue to support those kind of people. And you expect anything different to happen in the country? You're mistaken. Dr. Fisk will speak, then we'll begin taking closing statements. Dr. Fisk.
Yeah, look, you know, the thing is, victory is sweet. If Mr. Cummings becomes victorious, you know, I would want for Cummings to celebrate as much as possible because it was a very long road for him. Okay, he had to neutralize a number of political adversaries, including, you know, those who tried to, you know, neutralize him. Okay, so let him celebrate. It doesn't mean that he's pompous or he's whatever the case may be. Politics, the game of politics for mature people. I mean, you know, the petty feelings, the person celebrate, put that thing away. Let them celebrate. The same thing with Joseph Boakai. If Joseph Boakai won a very hard victory, what required that he had to dance with the devil, he may as well just celebrate like hell. And the opposition need to be joining to celebrate. It doesn't mean to say that, you know, you can still have unity in that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I'm inclined to agree with Reverend Josh. It's impossible to discount the CPP in Grand Bassa County. You know, if the Grand Bassa people know very well that the road to political relevance ran through Charles Bronski. It did not run through Yomli Kanga. It did not run through Darius Dillon. That road to Bassa greatness ran through Charles Bronski. So if his daughter is leading the party right now in conjunction with Alexander Cummings, it's not an easy thing to dispel that there's a possibility that they could sweep that whole Bassa belt. But as far as a good question, will anything change if Joseph Boakai, if any opposition wins? The big message that it will be causing the biggest change is that the political leaders will understand that if you come to power and you don't do right by the Liberian people, you become a one-termer. That change alone will help to start turning the trajectory of Liberia around. And I end by saying that Mr. Cummings in the next 6 years will be the most, that is, if he doesn't win this election now, will be the most formidable candidate in the race. That hands down, depending on how he built his brand within the next 6 years. Thank you.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to begin taking closing statements. I will begin with Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts. If you are there, could you please begin your closing statement? And as we close out tonight, you know, we are calling on Liberians to remain calm, remain peaceful, as we listen forward to hearing the results that will be coming out of the National Elections Commission. And for those of you that were in the previous government and think you're waiting now to go back to steal again, just pray that your guy wins, because in the event where your guy doesn't win, then you'll find something else to do. Mrs. Roberts, your closing statement.
Yes, I want to say thank you to you all. Thank you to my fellow panelists. Thank you to our viewing audience. I know right now your attentions are split due to all of the excitement, but I just caution that you do not get too excited until we hear from the powers that be. while it's true, we can have, a little bit of information from places, but they are not the final arbiters of the results. So again, in my closing, I want to thank the Liberian people who took the time out today to use their rights. One of the quotes that I have here is from Lyndon B. Johnson. He said, "A man without a vote is a man without protection." You guys went out, you said what you wanted to say, and whatever the results are, long as they're fair and they're truthful, we, the people, accept them because we used our vote as our voices. So thank you again. Have a peaceful night. Get up tomorrow morning. Do not be provoked by anyone. Listen to the powers that be, and we pray for a great outcome, whatever your outcome should be.
Thank you.
Thank
Reverend
you.
Idatus added that for some reason you seem out of it tonight. It's either you're doing something else or there's something bothering you, So as we go tonight, and we're asking you now to give us your closing statement for the night.
Well, last night I went first. I should go first, no problem.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm the host. I decide
No
who goes
problem.
first and who goes last.
I was just kidding. I was just
Okay.
kidding. I was just kidding.
No, last night I went first, and I went first tonight. So I think he's still staying with the
Okay,
same
no
order.
problem. My fellow Liberians, I want to thank you on behalf of incoming President Joseph Yuman Boyka. You have fought a good fight. You have finished the course. All that remains now is your decision. We encourage you to remain peaceful. Your vote remain this. Your votes are better than violence. Let's embrace our results. If you've decided to make us your leaders, rest assured that you will not be disappointed. We'll build together. We'll love Liberia together. We'll ensure that every young boy and girl in our country can enjoy the right to free education, good hospitals, good roads. We want to invest in agriculture, where every Liberian can be proud of a nation that he helped build, not a nation that is now dwindling in the dungeons of poverty, rampant corruption, nepotism, and insecurity and tribalism. It is our hope beyond all reasonable doubt that if you give us state power, we intend to build a government of inclusion, a government where Mr. Alexander Cummings can join us, a Tiawangonglo can feel proud again to serve, irrespective of our political differences. We're confident and yet sure that even those who've worked in the CDC can be able to join us together and build a Liberia we can all be proud of. Our political stripes may have been different, but I want you to understand that united we stand, divided we fall. We remain a one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Hence, let's continue to think Liberia, love Liberia, build Liberia, as we're with these results, and be proud of a nation we can point to and be able to say, Liberia is all we have. God bless you. Thank you.
Well, Reverend George, I don't know if we will be seeing Reverend, not Reverend, Mr. Cummings in 2029, by which time he'll be at Joseph Boyka's age, in his 70s. People are saying now that he was lucky last time in 2017, he got 7%. He would be extremely lucky if he get 3% in these elections. Please take it away now as you give us your closing statement.
Okay, thank you very much to my fellow panelists. I'd like to say it's been a pleasure to exchange views and articulate for Mama Liberia. I'd like to say also to you, ASHFORD the Giant, thank you for your insightful commentary that kind of size up the conversation. I think your viewer really loved that. So that's a plus to the show. And I also want to say to my fellow panelists and to you, I will be out on Sunday. I'm traveling to the missions field, and so I'll be away for quite some time. So you will not be seeing me. unless I find a way. Maybe I can even come on if the technology allow me. If I have access to internet, I can come on around the time, which would be right now maybe 3 a.m. in East Africa where I'm going. But it was a pleasure. And I look forward to being a permanent part of this platform. We have articulated the views that for our candidates, and we look forward to um, the likes of Elder Joseph Nyama Boakai to join us if we go to the second round, so that we can have uh, statement like Boakai as advisors, and also look at the whole aspect of retirement in Liberian politics. Look, some of us want to come up now and say, you and I, it's our time. So we got to cultivate that in the coming government to look at retirement. And also, one of the things that actually attracted me to Mr. Cummings' campaign message is the idea of civil servant. His commitment to get rid of the excess and the waste in government, redeploy that money to take care of civil servant salary. Look, every library, we live off of each other. We are interconnected. Either your uncle is working, your auntie is working, and we take care of each other. But when civil servants are not getting paid consistently, everyone suffers. So that's one of the things I like about his plan, redeploying the waste and opening the library to an industry. That's what we're willing to do. And we ask those in the Unity Party to be prepared if we get to the second round to be willing to join us as we are willing to join them
Thank you.
for the sake of Liberia. Again, thank you. It's been a healthy exercise, but the Liberian people have spoken. Let us wait for the verdict. Thank you very much, and God bless Mama Liberia.
And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I will bring in Dr. James D. Fisk as he gives us his closing statement. Dr. Fisk.
Yeah, it has been a long journey with all the panelists and all our people in watching and viewing land. And all of us have one thing in common. We are interested in understanding how Liberia progresses as a nation. So, I first and foremost want to congratulate all of us who have been part of this journey. The next thing we have to understand is that if we are becomes president for the next 6 years, I mean the votes have been cast. But if at the end of that outcome he becomes president for the next 6 years, Liberia is going to go through hell. I mean that's it's just clear cut. He did it for the first 6 years and said the poor he did nothing to deserve the presidency, and the people gave it to him. So if after 6 years going to visit his son, flying just all over the place, the people still give it to him, then he will be justified to do just about anything with the Liberian people. Okay. At the end of the day, what Boaka and we are having common vis-a-vis Cummings is that both of them can only serve for 6 years. Boaka can serve for 12. So we're in the next 6 years. If Boaka wins, it will be Cummings going against Jeremiah Kuhn, because by then Kuhn will be running for president. Okay, so what Cummings need to do is to start building a social infrastructure right now. That is my argument on his behalf. Mr. Boaka, at the end of the day, if Mr. Boaka becomes president, what it does for Liberia, it makes Boaka and any other politician, including George Weah, to understand that if you come and take the Liberian people for granted, they will give you a red card. And I hope when everything is done and set tonight and the outcome comes and there's a competition for the second round, which will be in football analogy, which is what George Weah understands, which will be the second half. If the Liberian people don't give George Weah the red card, the first half, the shooting, make mistake, and don't give it to him the second half. And one of those reasons that will make that possible, if politicians can understand that the game of politics is a mature people game and put all the small things aside, let people celebrate. But at the end of the day, understand that at the end of the day, what is most important is not the celebration, but the fact that we can move the country forward because we can put our petty grievances aside and work in the interest of the Liberian people. Thank you again.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we go home tonight, I want to say the big thanks to the panelists and to our Liberian people, especially those who find themselves as political leaders. The campaign for 2029 starts now. If you are eyeing the presidency in 2029, you need to start now. That the Cyril Beslow, uh, the Crow Mine, the Cummings, and what's the boy name? Clarence Moneyman, and the rest of those who have interest in taking up the challenge to run for office. Begin your campaign now, and then 6 years later, you will be looked at. With that said, I want to see the big
You
thanks.
didn't say Kevin Gonglo.
Gonglo, I mean, Gonglo would be about 74, 75. So, you'd be around Boyka's age. He and Cummings that will be working with him.
Boyka is 84, 86.
He's not 86. Come on, don't do that. You know. So, folks,
That is why they lost this election, because they keep making up stuff.
Yeah. So,
time will tell.
I want to see the big
Even if
things.
he becomes
I want to see the
president.
big things to the
Time has already told.
I want to say the big thanks to the management and staff of British Radio Africa. I want to say the big thanks to the woman by my side who prays with me, who has been there every step of the way to say, baby, you can do this. Keep your head up. I know your value. I know what you can do. And just so you know, she's the one that say, listen, British Radio will be here to stay. I continue to do what you do. So I want to say to you all, ladies and gentlemen, British Radio will be here. We're not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, this is the main time where we'll become a lot more vocal, because whoever becomes the next president will have us to deal with, And one of the things I can say to my staff or to my panelists is, you ain't got money to pay us. We do this because we have passion for this. Some people, we can joke all we want. People were saying the Reverend Ade is looking for a job. The man is financially stable. The man is doing more for Liberians in that country than some of the government officials who find themselves there. That's how I know my brother. So with politics aside, I mean, we can talk all we want, but these people genuinely love Liberia, and they are in it for the good of Liberia. Unlike those wicked and evil politicians, who sleep with their own relatives because of juju purposes. They come year in and year out and want to get in power. I mean, what kind of conversation you can have with a 13-year-old girl? 13-year-old girl, not a woman for you. What you were talking about? That's why they can't stay in America. Because they get away with murder. You see somebody get that woman for you now. You scared you're equal? Yeah. This is not healthy for Liberia. And some of the women in that country who are supporting these wicked politicians, when would you get it to speak for your people? When? Our country deserves better, man, folks. Again, merci pour votre contribution. Et puis merci pour votre invitation. Je suis votre animateur. Ladies and gentlemen, some call him the mastermind, the brother who doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. Africa's media do-be-do, extraordinary. I'm ASHFORD GARLEY. Have a good night.
Thank you, panel. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Safe
No
journey.
sweat.
Thank you.
Our unique selection.
Oka. Hey. Hey. komona